That's a very good question. As if you didn't know, I'm currently speaking with Katie, while I'm speaking with you. Um, I personally know I didn't commit electoral fraud in Docklands. I really have no intentions to do that, especially with my opponent who has lost twice in a row by two different candidates. So there wouldn't be no reason why electoral fraud would occur. Indeed, the SEC said that they were going to look into it, but they haven't really followed up on it or said anything about it. Especially Loss, the owner, he hasn't said anything about it. So that's very funny. I don't like the current governor. Um, I consider him as a Nazi. If that's surprising. I resigned from my office a few days ago, as you know, because I know that people wanted him in office. So the reason why I resigned is because I want people to see his in true intentions, which was the case. People have seen it. I'm currently writing impeachment. Half of the Senate realized his actions. The Supreme Court is following up on it, and really, our foreign allies also realize it as well. For example, Firestone. I spoke with the Secretary of State of Firestone, and he reviewed the evidence, and he thought it was legitimate. So that's what's currently going on in Docklands, especially with the House of Representatives. They're basically incriminating themselves, including Katie, who was talking about electoral fraud. She was also in the House of Representatives. So basically, they all gained political leverage because they were part of the centrist party, the party I created for progress. But my leadership was overthrown by Monaldo when I went on an activity and he was the acting governor. So that's basically what it is. Well, that's a good question. I wouldn't say they're really inactive, but there's a lot of factors why they seem to be inactive, and that is because the whole Docklands in general, like the departments, the development, and basically the government reset that kind of threw everything off, and the past administration such as Governor Darkwell, who wasn't doing anything at all within his term, which kind of played a big role into the fact how document activity is now regards to the government. So I I I appointed some people, excuse me, I appointed some people to the Senate after I realized n- not not all the spots, if I do elections, will be done. Like only four people that was legitimate ran for Senate and they got it, and I appointed the other eight. um, but yeah, if you realize, the current governor tried to remove the entire Senate, and the Supreme Court obviously overruled that as for their check and balances, as I mandated in the Constitution. There's a lesson, okay? There's a lesson regarding to that. I know some people in Docklands, they're not really, let me just say, they don't have a mindset of who to believe and who to look up to regarding to the office of the governor. They will elect a governor, and then they will hear something about the governor 1 month later, or 1 month later or less, and then they'll want to remove the person. I wouldn't say it's it's because of the person that's in office directly, but I think it is because of the community and how people interact with each other. It's not really about the person itself, even though that could play a big factor. Um, Not exactly. I mean, it has some effects on the current administration, but I don't believe it is completely his fault, as there's other factors regarding to how this administration is, as I aforementioned. Well, I mean, let me just say this. When Monaldo was governor, acting governor, and I was on activity, he kind of changed my entire cabinet, and he kind of tried to change the Senate. To me, I believe Monaldo is just using his authority to his advantage, as putting people that he knows and his friends or whatever in Congress, such as the House and the Senate. I don't I don't really have an opinion on that, but I know that our current governor didn't just do that because it's gonna benefit people. It's because he's doing it because it's gonna benefit himself. Yeah, it's been debunked that it's not for the people at all. It's for themselves, including Monaldo, who's the leader. He's not doing this for the people. He's doing it for himself in order to stay in power. That's basically what it is, which is why I resign, for the people to see his true intentions and how he runs the government and the state overall. That's a good question. A lot of people ask me about that, but at this time, I don't see why I would want to do that. But if there's a legit reason, and if I feel like I should be there, then I will announce it, or write a statement. But I don't see why I should be in the governor position so many times. After all, I keep coming back and keep coming back and keep coming back, and it's kind of, getting people getting used to it. It's kind of a little annoying, to be honest. And sometimes, it really affects what I do between real life and my position here. So Of course, if you know, the Secretary of Aviation and you know the press secretary, it's funny because you're a deputy, but the press secretary he doesn't like me either. And you know, Monaldo basically said I'm a bad governor, but he did steal my chief of staff, and he did take my secretary of state to use in his administration. When I was a governor, Ronaldo wasn't part of our discussions regarding to my administration. He was elsewhere. I don't know what he was doing, but he was doing something else, and I always had to inform him of what occurs in such conversations. Um, Ronaldo Ronaldo is a person I believe is not really benefiting the people. I think he's just there because you know he used to centrist party. He assimilate people. He overthrowing basically government, and then he came into office as I resigned, of course, and then he abused his powers tremendously. So I would just say his administration isn't the best. I'm not saying mine was any better, but I think overall that these things should be organized and pre-planned way before into entering office. Thank you. Goodbye.